It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, the Bears and guard Joe Thuney have reached agreement on a 2-year, $35 million contract extension. Thuney was traded to the Bears from the Chiefs this offseason in exchange for a fourth-round pick in next year's draft. He was entering the final year of the 5-year, $80 million contract he signed with Kansas City in 2021. This extension keeps him in Chicago through the 2027 season. The NBA Conference Finals begin tonight in Oklahoma City as the Thunder take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off for that one is at 7:30. Tennessee's SEC tournament opener in baseball is set as they will take on Alabama in Hoover tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. And we had Tennessee Titans press conferences today. We have a new weird ruling, or I guess way of doing things that the NCAA is trying to pass. We got some flag football talk, and we're going to do our first ever Cover 2 Rookie Symposium, where we're going to give advice, some do's and don'ts to some of the rookies, whether that's on the field, off the field, whatever, what have you. We're going to get to that later as well. And we also have Coach Mac coming on for his weekly Mac Attack here at 2:20. And was a lot of talk, Blaine, today about leadership for the Tennessee Titans. They're implementing a couple of new things. They're doing this thing where they have 8 teams, and then each one has a captain and a co-captain. They're doing this thing called 4-H.
Fortnite? Oh,
yeah, Fortnite. Fortnite would actually probably be just as good as team building as anything.
It would be.
But they're doing something called 4-H, and no, not the agricultural club you probably know from elementary school, where they try to find each other's heroes, their heartbreaks, their hopes, and their history. A lot of kumbaya stuff, I guess. I mean, a little bit right there. I guess.
What would you think about all that?
There's some I like. Some I feel like is a little bit try-hard stuff. Like, I like what he said about leading by example. He says leading by example is just the bare minimum, pretty much, that you can do in the NFL as a leader. I'm asking for more. I want more. And I think that is a great way to look at leadership, at least in sports, is that like coming in and being on time for meetings and coming in and doing your tape study and doing the bare minimum is not leading by example. And this is what Brian Callahan had to say about that today in his press conference.
It's something that we've really put a lot of work into. What I mean by that is it's an emphasis for us as well. Just like we emphasize trying to eliminate those negative plays and our execution, there is a leadership emphasis. And part of the reason I did what I did with our dividing our team up into teams is now they're all accountable to each other on that team. There's a leadership that starts to grow because now each team has a captain and an alternate, and now you've got more people in leadership spots. One of the things I think is unique about the process is it allows those guys to start to find their own voices, and it's not about an offense versus defense. It's much more of a holistic team approach to it. We encourage these guys to spend a lot more time together, both in the building and out of it. It's been a focus for us, and I think you can develop leadership. I don't think leaders are necessarily just walk into a room ready to lead. I think there's skills you have to learn. You have to have the communication as a leader. You have to know your teammates. We spend a lot more time trying to get to know each other on a level that I think is going to be beneficial to fostering more leadership for more people. One of the things I tell our team all the time that I think is really important is a lot of times you ask people, how do you lead? And most people say, I lead by example. And my retort to that is there's really no such thing in pro sports. Leading by example is the expectation. That's your job, to be on time, to do what you're supposed to do, to work hard, to study. That's part of that's in your contract, And so my challenge to our team this year was to do more of the things that require bringing people with you, making other people better. And so leadership is something that we talk a lot about. It's a focal point of our off season, and the idea is that you develop a team full of leaders, and everyone has different styles. But it's something that I think the more people you have that are comfortable in those roles and understand that it's more about how you interact with people and how you make people around you better, that part of it I think is something I'm excited about. So
yeah, I could argue with some of the semantics of some of the stuff he said and the word choices and stuff, but I think the overall takeaway needs to be is that they already expect you to do a certain minimum of leadership. And now some of that, I don't know if I'd classify as leadership, but that's just me. But at the end of the day, they're demanding more. They're not letting you just come in and think, well, I'm a leader because I lead by example. Well, there should be at least 52 other players doing the same thing you do. We need bigger and better and more prominent leaders. And it is something you kind of have to develop. And it is something that you have to kind of get to know, because there is a thing as a natural born leader, but I do think that at some point you do have to learn certain things and when to implement them, certain abilities and all that kind of stuff as a leader. But I do think that what they're doing, at least here in that instance, I'm on board with, and I love the philosophy that he's trying to implement. There's some other things, maybe not so much, but your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's just like, any other job. It's always interesting to me where people think the corporate world and sports are just totally different. They're so intertwined. It's amazing. That's why a lot of athletes, if they have any nuggets to their brain, they do really well, whether they only played a little bit in the National Football League or even college. To then have success in the corporate world. But I think what he's trying to do here, and I think what he identified what was missing last season was that the team, they didn't bond, they didn't communicate outside of when they were at work. And I'm cool with that, but I'm not going to even communicate within your own group. And he found out maybe he needed some more leadership. And different styles of leadership. And I do agree with him there. You can teach leaderships, but here's the point that I think he missed, and that is they must want to be a leader. Mm-hmm. You cannot be a leader and think everybody's going to be a leader. Let's get that out the way first. There are different styles, and everybody has to play a somewhat of a different role in their leadership. Depending on based off your position, as always. So I think that part was missing. But I think he's on point with all of that, especially being a young team, a lot of new players, whether they were free agents, signed and draft picks. So I think he's doing a great thing. He identified it. And guess what? He's also, making sure that he does, whether this is his first year or his, or last year with the team or his fifth year, whether he makes it through 5, 7 years, 10 years, or whatever it is. He said, I did everything I could to make sure I made this team successful. So whatever happens to me or this team, I can say I did all I was supposed to do here. So, and I know a lot of people are going to make jokes about, these games and point systems and all these other things. I totally disagree with that. And I think anybody who understands any type of team leadership building, that's what this is.
Well, you do get competitive and involved, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Like, especially athletes, right?
We did all this stuff when I played, Watterson and Coach Fisher had all these different things we would do outside, whether we were carrying, bags of sand and obstacle courses and having different teams. And it was just unique in that everybody's competing at the same time. You're getting stronger and you're also bonding. Yeah. So it's a really unique deal. And you don't have to hang with your teammates. If you with somebody 8 hours a day, I bet you how many people in the corporate world say, I'm going to go hang out with, such and such who, is, my team.
Usually it's someone from another department, right? Right. I'm going to go hang out with Steve from accounting.
I'm saying every day. So let's don't get carried away with that part of it. If you with somebody on a daily basis for 8 hours and probably even longer than that as a teammate, I think it's really cool just to, get away, especially some guys are married with families and kids. You must need a break from the sport and then then come back to it on a daily basis. So let's people need to get their heads on straight on that one.
Well, I also think I look at Brian Callahan, and he's talked about, being cognizant of all the mistakes that he made maybe last year in his approach to the offseason and the locker room and in-game stuff and all the mistakes. I mean, he says he keeps a notebook of all the mistakes and things that he wished he did differently, and now he's doing things differently. Will they work? Who knows? But at least part of his leadership is saying, okay, well, I'm not going to do the same thing that we did last year. Now, obviously, very few teams probably just come with the same approach year after year if you have a season like that. But at the end of the day, he is trying something new. He's trying to be a little bit more vocal, a little bit more upfront about what he expects. I mean, I find this 4-H thing a little hokey, but that doesn't mean it's not effective.
You talking
right?
about this point system?
Yeah, well, no, the 4-H, you got to ask everybody in your team their heroes, heartbreaks, hopes, and history. I mean, like, I call the branding of it hokey, not what its intention is supposed to be.
I missed this part of his interview. I didn't hear that.
Well, that came from Tony Pollard, if I'm not mistaken. Oh. He's the one who brought up the 4-H.
Oh.
And that's another layer to the team. So there's the 8 teams with two co-captains on each team. Roughly, I guess, about 11 players on each team. There's a point system and all that kind of stuff of all these events, but you're supposed to also find out the 4-H. I know Van Jefferson also talked about it in his press conference today. It's hokey sounding, but it's probably effective because if you're really trying to build, I believe PK put it out, there's like 43 of the 90 or new players or something like that. I'll look it up here in just a second, but there's so many new players, you have to kind of get to know each other on the fly, and it's an effective way. Cheesy? Maybe. Effective? We'll see, because you're trying to build that camaraderie. They seem to really take part to it, and I think that's what matters most. Not our opinions out here on the radio. Is it effective for the players in the locker room?
Well, I mean, do they have a choice?
No, I mean, I guess not. They're going to have to do it regardless. But, I mean, when you're talking about maybe if this was implemented in 53 players, it'd be a little bit different. But 90 players, if you're not starting to acclimate and that, I don't know how much they're going to weigh on all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when I hear all this, I don't feel like it's hokey pokey or anything. I actually love this idea. Here's what I bring to the table if I'm asking questions. Where was your notebook, Mr. Coach Callahan, Brian Callahan, on your notebook coming into being a head coach last year? Because to me, if you already were anticipating being a head coach, you already had a notebook already ready to go. You were around some great head coaches.
Well, he said he did, but I mean, it didn't really seem it was very effective. I guess you was the other thing.
He would implement this when he first got here.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting at. You could say you had a notebook, but did you implement it? It's just like saying, oh, I can call plays, but until you call the plays, do you really know what it's like to call plays?
Right.
So until you are the head coach, do you really understand what it's like to sit in that chair? That's why you should have taken notes and things that you were going to do, whether it was the same or different than what they did. So to me, this is him trying to, let's say, identify some things that maybe he missed up on, or took for granted, let's say, as a head coach.
Could be something they took for granted, or maybe he figured this is a more effective than what he did last year. Either way.
I'm talking about we did it in the 90s. I mean, there's no
but I mean, he wasn't on your team in the 90s, you know what I'm saying?
No, but no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this has been around the coaching industry for a very long time.
Right.
Somebody that's sharp like him should have known that we should have done this even in his rookie year as a head coach. That's what I'm referencing. Not that it goes back to the 90s.
Yeah.
It's just that this has been going on since then in the head coaching industry from the time I played all the way till today.
But not everybody learns that stuff. And maybe he hasn't been around it. Then there could be a good chance that maybe he hasn't been around this particular thing. You know what I'm saying? Because not every coach implements it across the NFL.
Now,
not to say that hasn't been around.
What you'll find out is that the coaching industry is a very small network of people that they talk all the time. So I refuse to believe
I've said that on this show. So
I didn't know that.
Well,
sorry.
But this particular instance or process, right? I mean, maybe he tried something different last year. I mean,
we didn't hear about it.
Well, I don't. I'd have to go back and recall, see if we did hear anything about it, because I've been through so much trauma from this Tennessee Titans team. I may have forgotten, but I'm sure there's stuff that they tried doing.
So there you go, make an assumption. If they didn't tell us, they didn't do it.
Well, it feels like I remember something, but I can't remember specifically what it is.
Team building?
No, I remember Vrabel doing.
Exactly.
Vrabel did did something like that.
What did he do?
His first season. It was like a.
I don't know what he did.
Like
he did do something.
Like a. Have you ever heard of like the Spoon Assassin or something like that?
The Spoon
It's
Assassin?
like a game. It was like a game that I think 2 players came up with.
No, I have not. You're going to have to Google that and tell us about Spoon Assassin when we come back. This is cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Spoon? Hey, folks, you know I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's right, TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're talking about things that Brian Callahan said today at the press conference, but now let's talk about things that you guys have to say on our phone line, 615-737-1045. Roger, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment about leadership and about how you get there. You're dealing with the top 1% of the people in the world as far as athletic ability is concerned. My philosophy has always been you give 110% or you don't give anything. And the thing is, these young men that are coming into the NFL, they are physically gifted. They have been gifted most of their life. And how do you get them when they get this far to give 110%? Because they got by in high school and everything, giving 40%. You see the 100%ers. Michael Jordan was a 100%er. In practice, he gave 110%. So my thought is you practice like you play. If you give 110% in practice, the defensive back is going against a wide receiver. What's it going to make both of them? Great. Okay, if wide receiver is not giving 110%, then the quarterback is going to be off on his timing. You get down to taking these gifted athletes and getting in their head, if they don't give 110% all the time, every time, it's going to make everybody better. Now, you look at the NFL. What is the difference between all the programs? Why is the Pittsburgh Steelers always up there? Culture. Why was New England up there? Good players, better players than everybody, one or two. What was it? Culture. You get down to these guys that are gifted to get them performing more than give you 40%. I'm going to give you what I get by with 40. How do you teach them to do 110? That's where the Titans is lacking. They don't. I call it the culture of 110. If you can get them to give the maximum, and that's very difficult to get everybody. You'll get few of them, not everybody. That's what's lacking with the Titans. Are they less talented than everybody? No. They don't have a culture yet. He's starting on the right process, but until he gets the players saying, okay, today at practice, instead of giving 40%, I'm going to give 80%. Tomorrow I'm going to give 100%. 2 days later, I'm going to give 120%. Guys, when you get there, the Titans will come back. If not, culture to me is everything. And I've been in athletics since the 1940s and the 50s. Culture of 110%.
All right. Thank you, Scott, or Roger. Thank you for that one, Roger. I will say that I think at some point you have to be self-motivated. So I know it's not. Is it something you can teach to get them to that 110%, Blaine, or is that something that really just comes natural because the player has been that their whole life?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question because I don't think I agree with a lot of premise of what he was talking about there, and Roger. I think all the guys are playing hard. I think the hardest thing now is to get the kids to stay focused. There's so many distractions with social media, for one, and then their attention spans are. So you got to find ways to keep them, attentive to me more. So I think they practice hard. I don't think you can, to your point, I don't think you can make it this far without it. I mean, he was assuming that everybody was such these great athletes and they didn't have to practice very hard and they were only given 40%. I definitely disagree with that. Played in the National Football League 10 years and I gave maximum percent every day until they said, Blaine, you can't keep doing that or you're going to hurt yourself or your teammates.
And, of course, that wasn't until you got to the Eagles, right?
No, this was with the Titans.
I thought Andy Reid was the one who told you that.
No, that was from Coach Fisher.
Gotcha.
That was when I was a young player. So I think this generation may be a little bit different, but I would say focus is more that than anything else. And it's just, man, are they super talented? Absolutely. I agree with Roger on that. But if they're playing hard, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that an athlete isn't going hard. That's a degrading conversation for me, because that's almost impossible for you to do that. Now, are you giving maximum effort every time, and maybe you're tired on a play and you stay out there? Now, those things do happen. But to say that they're not playing hard, I can't say that.
Let's go to Scott, who wants to talk about the culture. Scott, you're on Blaine and Zach.
You hear me there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Blaine, you said something great that I appreciate. But it's just like any other person. These guys got multi-million-dollar deals or hundreds of $1,000s a deal, but you only get 2 or 3 weeks vacation a year. These guys' contract goes 365 days, and they get their breaks. They need to be committed to their contract every day, and they need to bring it, because that's the reason why they make the big money. So, in the off season, if the coaches aren't allowed, Tom Brady used to take, a little Wessler, and they'd go pass the ball, this, that, and other. These guys need to understand their schedule is not between the OTAs and the season. It's year round.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to build the team. So,
yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Scott.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's also, about what all these players, vets, all down to rookies, do, that during their downtime. How much are they, staying tuned training? How much are they trying to perfect their craft, perfect a new technique? I mean, all that stuff matters in the off season.
Yeah, that's where you get better. So, I think a lot of people think during the season you're going to get better. That's kind of not the case.
Isn't that really hard to do?
Yeah,
I would feel like.
I don't know. I mean, some may. There's always some outliers, but it's really hard to do. Your off season is where you develop and continue to grow and get better, because now you're spending your whole entire time for you individually to be better, and you're paying for it. And you pay. I'm talking about you're actually paying some dollars to whoever's training you to get you to the next level, or to find out information about what you need to do to be a better player. Coaching is really, once you get to the coaching in the National Football League, they're just telling you where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, and what's expected. After that, it's on you. You are a pro. So when you always keep talking about the development from the coaches, I don't know how much an actual coach developed me. They did tell me my weaknesses, and then it was up to me to take ownership in that and then go take it and develop. Now, they can, eventually add on to that, which they all did in different manners. Some brought in, education. Some brought in, the scheme, systems, how you fit in schemes and systems. Some was it about individually, your one-on-one battles and how to win those battles. All of them brought something different to the table. So you have to, as a player, be smart enough to say, what can this coach bring to the table to help me be better? I don't know if they do that really now. That's what I did with every coach I had. Some were better at technique. Some weren't. Some was more about assignments. Some was more about the scheme and the system and Blaine, you're supposed to be here when this happened. That's what you. So I look at it a little differently in that you got to figure out as a player, first of all, how your individual coach communicates, and you must understand how he communicates to you and then put it in your words so you then can get the best out of you. That's up to you. Some guys don't do that. They just like, I didn't understand what he said. Well, then how about go ask your coach what he was saying and do a one-on-one with him and have a conversation. Maybe then he can get to know you, and maybe he will speak differently amongst all of us in a group. So I think that's the part that brought real more value to me was understanding communication amongst your individual coaches and what they were expecting from you and what they were asking out of your position. So I just don't, sometimes it gets lost in translation because, everybody just, it's a kind of a warp speed once the season gets going. But in the off season is where you're supposed to get better.
So in that vein, let's do one thing. Let's tie that into maybe a career that many people know about. And this is courtesy in the F&M Bank chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Eric puts in, as a teacher, I don't improve during the school year. I typically improve over the summer. I get a reset. I put up new boundaries, open up new avenues, and reflect on my success and failures. So, I mean, you're right. Once you're kind of, I mean, not everybody has a summer break, but I mean, typically if you have the time to improve, like a summer break, that's when you're going to use it because your in-season stuff is so filled with the stuff you have to do right now. You have to do these things. You're looking on Sunday schedule or Monday through Thursday or Friday is all dealt with what game you're playing on Sunday. It's not dealing with all the different techniques. You don't have a lot of time to go out and maybe seek out an O-line guru somewhere that can improve your techniques, or you don't have the time to go maybe up to New York for a pass rush specialist. All that stuff is supposed to be done during the summer.
But what I can say, if you're not playing a lot, there is development there. And sometimes it's visual from watching the guy who's actually playing in your spot and they're playing in front of you to then you taking it to the field and working on it while you're doing your second team reps or scout team reps. So you can get better depending on what position you are in on the team. If you're the starter, that's really hard. I mean, you work on your craft during the week, but you're perfecting. Now, but when you're the backup, you're not getting a lot of reps. You have to then learn how to teach yourself to be disciplined enough and focused enough to then go continually to work on getting better until you get your shot. Because here's one thing. If you don't believe that you're going to get your shot, because that's what I believe. I was not a starter, being a late round pick until week 10, is that I'm going to get my shot. And when I get my shot, I'm going to shoot it. And there is going to be no hesitation. And I've already accomplished or approved on all the things that I wanted to improve on as a player. That doesn't mean I'm going to have success. But that does mean I can say I gave it all I got to be the best player I could be. I can't compare myself to Ronnie Lott. Hey, my goal was, I want to be as good as Ronnie Lott. Well, guess what? I knew I was never going to be as good as Ronnie Lott. But guess what? I was going to be the best version of Blaine Bishop and not worry about what everybody else. All I could do was be the best. And my goal was to play a perfect game, knowing in reality that would never happen.
You probably got all of our listeners ready to run through a wall. They're probably saying, "Amen, Blaine, amen."
Well, this is how
because you're preaching.
Well, that's how I used to talk in the locker room.
Oh, hey, that would explain a lot about that locker room, right? I mean, I got goosebumps over here.
Yeah, you got. Yeah. I put that person and I put that person to sleep.
Maybe Brian Callahan can write that in his notebook. Let's go to Larissa, who wants to talk about culture. Larissa, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hi, guys. The show's always great, first and foremost, and love the station. But I agree with Roger and Blaine. You guys are really hitting on some great topics because, and even like with Coach Callahan, anytime that we start anything new, there is a curve. Mm-hmm. And Callahan's year one was a curve on a level that no one saw coming, but I don't care what industry you are in, there is a learning curve, but I think he literally got boots upside the head, if you will. And even with Levis, the young man, I'm sure no one goes out on that field and is like, I'm just going to just mess things up for the game today. But I do want to know, since Roger had mentioned culture, do you guys feel like a lot of the athletes and I'm not saying, I'm generalizing, so please, and all due respect to anybody that's listening, I apologize. But did you get into the game for the money? And then after you got the money, you kind of lost the passion? Because there is something to be said in regards to the social media. This is a whole different time. And I'm a person that's long in the tooth. So when I was coming up, it wasn't like this at all. So I just wonder about that. But Roger did touch on the fact of culture. There has to be an identity. And people have lost that identity when it comes to the Titans, I believe. Fisher did touch on that when you were playing Blaine, and you guys had a sense of culture. No disrespect to anybody, but this is a great show, a great topic, and I'm going to hang up and listen.
Thank you, Larissa.
Yeah, that was a great point.
We've kind of talked about it a couple of different times about how NIL has these NFL teams. Just recently, I've heard 3 or 4 NFL teams, including the Tennessee Titans, are removing players because they don't love football. But I mean, obviously, that should be something you should be doing for decades now. But I think it's becoming more apparent with the presence of money that you may be able to kind of investigate and see who's just in it for the money and who's in it for the love of the game. It's a line that I think these teams are going to have a tough time, I guess, investigating and figuring it out. But there are ways, go back to a piece from The Athletic a couple weeks ago where they're talking about how Brad Stevens was looking at how someone acted in the huddles, how someone acted on the bench. What are they doing when they did something wrong? Like, what are they doing to correct all that? And then what do they do during the week? And talking to even the janitors about these players. I don't think it's going to be as easy as what it kind of sounds like. Oh, we're removing a player because he doesn't love football, because you may have the wrong idea, but it's going to be about the investigating into these players' backgrounds are more important than ever.
Well, I'm just to you what you're talking about, NIL and college players. I think for me personally, that's real easy to judge. For me, if you see them playing before they got paid and after play, then you get to see who they are. That's it. So go watch when he wasn't making money, and then what happened? Did he get satisfied and comfy on that couch? See, so that's real easy to me. So it's not a background check and all this. None of that. All you got to do is watch. Here's a good example. Good friend of mine played for the Titans, Albert Hainsworth. How did he play before he was defensive player year and then his contract year? He told you everything about him, what was going to happen. When he got the money, he was going to go back to that. And he was still a real good player, but he wasn't a dominant player. He was a dominant player 2 years in a row. You know why? He was chasing that cash. He was shaking the pockets, right? And then he went right back to that. So my question is, I said I would never sign him to an extension because he played for the money. So he told you who he was. That's just like what you're talking about in NIL. He told you right there. So the guys that they drafted with all these different backgrounds, guess what? They have one thing in common. That will never happen to those guys. Never, ever, ever. None of those guys, that will never happen. Because they're all built on hard work, and that's how they've been accomplished, and leaders and all these things. That will never happen to any of those players that got drafted by the Titans this past year.
Yeah.
It's not in their DNA.
Right.
They can't do it. They can't do it if they wanted to. Now, they may stalemate and just be the same player after they get their money, but then the media then expects more. That's wrong. You expect what you've seen before. You can't try to elevate a player because now he got paid. No, he got paid because of what he's done in the past. And if he stalemates and stays there the same, then he was still a really good player.
I'm trying to think of a good example. I guess A.J. Brown, right, would be a good example of that because he hasn't gotten technically better than what he was when he got paid by the Eagles.
He just gets more opportunities.
He just gets more opportunities. But he was deserving of what he got paid, got paid it, and his game didn't change. Now it didn't get otherworldly Jerry Rice levels,
right?
But it stayed the same,
right?
And that's what I get what you're saying there. I kind of like that. I've never really thought about it from that perspective, but that would be a good example. And I didn't mean to bring everybody some PTSD for mentioning A.J. Brown on Tennessee Titans airwave, but that's a good example, right? Because he was good. You knew what he was before he got paid.
He was only getting
before
6
he got traded.
balls a game, and then now he gets 10 or 12 or 15. Now he's
still the same A.J. Brown.
He's still the same guy.
Yeah.
And then change. So, but everybody always expects somebody gets paid there and they're supposed to be worldly. Like they're supposed to play. And guess what? Players buy into that.
Well,
they start feeling the pressure.
Watt's
I got to
keep
up. No, you just keep doing who you were. That's what you can't make something out of nothing. Then you start pressing. You want to make more plays. Then you got to no, that's not what you do. See, but you're that means you're listening to the social media, the newspaper, the radio, all these things because people now you get paid. Brock Purdy, if he does that, then he'll be doing a disservice to himself.
Because my question is, now that I think about it, who got significantly better after they got paid?
I'm sure there's somebody, but
there's got to be, but so very few and far between.
I mean,
because everybody that's gotten paid got paid because they were awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, except for Trevor Lawrence. But I mean, for the most part, everybody gets paid because they were awesome. Or because they deserved it. Yeah. For the most part in the NFL.
Pretty much so.
It really, you see more people fall off. Mm-hmm. Like the example you used earlier with Hainsworth. But like for the most part, most people, you kind of know by year 2, year 3 what they are and what they'll be worth. And then you pay them what they're worth. Not every player is going to get top of the money market.
Right.
And because not every player is worth it, but there are good players that get paid and they continue to be good players. That's kind of how the NFL and good teams stay.
Right. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. And if your body will allow you to continue to play at that level. So, yeah, I don't know if that's, I mean, you're acting like, people, like that's going to be a big service and just delving into, how we're going to pay. I think it's pretty clear who these guys are once, you see them on tape in college and then you watch them in pros. Once you get your hands on them, it's real easy to see. I don't think it's a big deal.
As a lot of people are mentioning Delaney Walker as an example of a guy that got better after he got paid, I would argue that he got better because he had more opportunity. If you remember the Delaney Walker that was in San Francisco, he was the same Delaney Walker that was here in Tennessee. Now, listen, he got older, he gets better. There is a little bit of it. Yeah. But that was a guy that was lacking opportunity because when they signed him, I was a big fan of them signing Delaney Walker back in the day because of, I was like, you guys watch him play. He's better. And I cannot remember the tight end, Vernon Davis. I was like, he's better than Vernon Davis, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And he ended up being, I don't know, I think he's ended up being better than Vernon Davis. No slight to Vernon Davis, but Delaney Walker, with more opportunity, was just the player that he's always been.
And it took a mental fortitude to get to that point,
right?
And confidence by him to then. So when we can name a player, and we could all say, oh, yeah, he got better, but at the same time, he got opportunity, and he relished the moment and then showcased.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So, yeah, I'm sure there are some guys that got better. You can kind of put him in that category a little bit because he was a surprise.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do it in San Francisco. Well, guess what? San Francisco had Vernon Davis, a first-round pick, I think, or a first or second-round pick from Ohio State, right? And the dude was super athletic or wherever he went to school, and one of the top-rated tight ends coming out of college, if not the top rated. So, yeah, he found his niche, and he was a blocker, and then he waited his turn, and then he got an opportunity, made, good money, and then all of a sudden they said, oh, well, this guy, we can give him more because he's showcased that he's even better than we expect, and then became the guy with no big-time receivers around him, by the way. So everybody knew he was getting the freaking ball. Everybody in the stadium, the other team and the fans and they fans. He still dominated. That's hard to do.
When we come back, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans. Answer your phone call, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hall of Fame. Ever wonder how I keep my mojo? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop here. And if you're looking for the best tacos in town, you got to check out Mojo's Tacos. They've got 3 amazing locations, including my favorite spot in Nolensville. And Mojo's Tacos is where the magic happens. So whether you're craving their mouth-watering carne asada, their delicious fish tacos, or their famous street corn, they've got it all. And don't forget to try their house-made salsa because, what? It packs a punch. And each location has a great vibe, perfect for the family night out or catching up with friends. Plus, their friendly staff will make you feel right at home, just like your movie theater, right? So head on over to Mojo's Tacos and taste the difference. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Mojo's Tacos, 3 locations and 1 unforgettable experience.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We have producer Jackson behind the glass who tried to tell me that there was some game called Spoon Assassins that everybody played. And I Googled Spoon Assassins, Tennessee Titans, Spoon Assassins, Mike Vrabel. And Google tells me Jackson's a liar.
Oh,
there
you
was
came up
some
with
type of game that they played in Vrabel's first year.
But you said Spoon Assassins. Now, Spoon Assassins exist.
They did do something, but I don't know what it was called.
It was some game
definitely
like
said
that.
before. It was something like that, right?
Yes.
It's probably like Mafia or something. So I want to transition just real quick to what the L'Jarius Sneed comments made by Brian Callahan today. He was asked of how much has Sneed done, and is he still under a load management? Here's what Brian Callahan had to say.
Yeah, I think there's a healthy balance there. He's coming back injury wise, so the rehab process is ongoing. He's in a good spot. Excited about where he's at, but there's definitely a part of like to practice more. I think he's on the same page too. Where you got to balance those things. There's a management part for a lot of players, but there's also you got to practice and get better at your craft and continue to improve. So we'll balance that. I feel good about where that process is for us and for him. I think he's well on the same page as well.
I don't know if he said in that clip, but he did go on to say that they're managing the knee, rehabbing the quad. I don't know if he specifically said that in that clip, but that is something that they said. Obviously, we also have the alleged legal issues going on with L'Jarius Sneed. But at what point are you going to get concerned about this whole? You're probably already a little concerned about L'Jarius Sneed's availability, but at what point are you really concerned about L'Jarius Sneed's availability?
Well, you're referring to off the field or on the field?
Both. I guess. At what point does his off the field, him being, at what point do you need to see him in practice a lot?
Well, I'm going to just say this. I'm a little miffed that I don't understand what he actually had surgery on. Did he have it on his knee or his quad?
Well,
I know we went back, but I don't. It just tells you what happened, but it doesn't tell me if he had some injection, right?
The injection.
But was that actual surgery or was that after surgery? Some of it just doesn't add up to me. And then
a bone marrow injection procedure, which is technically surgery, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. To his quad or his knee?
Let me see if it says. It says. L'Jarius Sneed explains what surgery he had to address lingering quad injury.
So it was for his quad.
It was for his quad, but I believe that the way it's described, if I can find it, is that the injection is actually... I don't think he ever said where the injection actually went.
Hence where lies my confusion. Why was L'Jarius Sneed telling us about his injury?
Now, do you ask that because
we should have heard it from Callahan first? That's what I'm getting at. So I don't have clarity on anything. So then that leads all of us that are sitting here in the media to speculate. I just don't know what to expect. So I can't even tell you really what to do. All I can go by is what he's saying now. Yeah. Oh, he looks good. He's at a good spot at this moment. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
I wrote down, he's got to manage it. I wish he could practice more, but that's probably something we have to get to later down the road. Hopefully he can be available. And all these things are what makes not only him a better player, but also his teammates. So I don't know what to expect. I just hope he's out there, because if he's not, then this will be his last year in the Titans uniform.
Yeah, because the contract can be gotten out of. Now, it'll still be a waste of money, but, he can be cut next year, and the Tennessee Titans save about $10 to $12 million. So,
well, give me your reason why he can be cut because of his contract.
Because of his contract.
I'm not saying because of the contract.
No, well,
if you can't play, your butt will get.
Well, I guess I'll say this.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't care about no contract. It's not going to hurt the Tennessee Titans to cut him.
So no doubt about that. What I'm getting at is they didn't even address it really in the draft either. Mm-hmm. Now they just signed some veteran guy that I can't pronounce his name yet, and I would never ever be able to do it. Probably.
I'm going to make Jackson learn it, because we're not going to say it on air. So every time he brings it up, you've got to be ready to say it.
It makes me think that they're confident. I could be overthinking it. But they didn't. They got Harris in the
Right.
later rounds from Cal Berkeley.
But I mean, he's not a Snead replacement.
Right, he's not a Snead replacement.
Your Snead replacement is Darrell Baker Jr. at
Right.
this stage of the game, which is fine.
Right.
But again, with your lack of pass rush, you need a L'Jarius Snead out there. Because that changes everything about your defense, right?
Because
if L'Jarius Snead is L'Jarius Snead, he can erase one wide receiver more often than not, and that frees up the rest of your defense.
Yeah, I just hope he's 90% of what he was in Kansas City, and that's pretty.
And that's what they're expecting. That's what every.
I just
to
don't
me,
know.
yeah. To me, Brian Callahan keeps saying we expect him to be ready by training camp. He said that at the owners' meeting. It was some weird wording too. It was like.
He probably has to be careful.
Maybe he should be.
Well, he probably has to be careful because he knows that a knee at any time it can flare up, and then we're back to he's practicing limitedly.
Yeah, and because that's what they don't want. They know they're always going to have to manage the knee. We knew that when they traded for him. We knew that before they even traded for him. That whoever was going to get L'Jarius Snead, they have to manage the knee. That's why he has certain practice protocols and all this kind of stuff that he had at Kansas City, right? They knew how to manage, they needed to manage the knee. Well, now you have a quad injury associated with the degenerative knee issue. That's a huge thing. And they're rehabbing the quad, managing the knee, which means that they're not doing anything different for the knee. But how much of that is actually true? Right? I mean, how much is the quad playing into the knee and vice versa? That all matters.
That's why I didn't like this trade. I love Snead as a player, but I did not like this trade. And this is why, because you are a sprinter when you're playing cornerback. In this scheme and system, as much man-to-man they play, you are a sprinter. As soon as a sprinter starts having problems with his knee, you're no longer a sprinter.
Right.
So now he can still play in some zone schemes, because he's an aggressive nature. Even going back to college, I mean, he played safety, nickel, and corner. His 3 years there at Louisiana Tech, I watched this guy play.
Right.
He is a dog. So I just wish I can see him myself on a weekly basis out in a Titans uniform and not in a Chiefs uniform.
And you're right. Their actions say that they're expecting Snead to be Snead.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that says, hey, man, we probably not even going to have him this year.
Because I really thought that there was a chance that they draft one in the second or third round if they were to pick up. Instead of drafting one in the third, they drafted Kevin Winston. He ain't a Snead replacement. So either they're trying to, hope that maybe other players can help alleviate the gap between Snead and whatever, but did their actions say they expect Snead to be Snead? Real quick, say the player's name.
Oruwariye. Amani Oruwariye.
Oruwariye. When we come back, we're going to give you the do's and don'ts for Titans rookies, the first ever Cover 2 Rookie Symposium here on 104.5 The Zone.
Let's talk insurance. My new client, King and Associates Insurance, is in Brentwood, and they're independent agents that have a big difference, but it goes beyond just having multiple companies to shop. Weeding out the non-competitive companies, keeping great relationships with the biggest and best, along with bundling. But unfortunately, life happens, and then they get it. Here's a true story about my friend and a coworker that switched from a previous independent agent and got better coverage on his home and is content with even his automobiles, as well as flawless communication and a true champion in his corner after his 16-year-old daughter had a minor boo-boo in an accident, and they still saved them thousands. And thousands for an independent agent who was overcharging him for years. So you could be in this situation, right, and make the switch and save yourself a lot of moolah. But don't make the switch because he did. Switch because you should. And as a business and family or an individual, make the switch to King and Associates Insurance. And I'm sure you have a good use for that money, right? And you'll be happy that you saved. And all you have to do is just call them right now at 615-329-8121. That's 329-8121, or you can check them out online at tkinginsurance.com.
Good afternoon. It is 2:02 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, the Bears and guard Joe Thuney have reached agreement on a 2-year, $35 million contract extension. Thuney was traded to the Bears from the Chiefs earlier this offseason in exchange for a fourth-round pick in next year's NFL draft. He was entering the final year of the 5-year, $80 million contract he signed with Kansas City in free agency back in 2021. This extension keeps him with Chicago through the 2027 season. The NBA Conference Finals begin tonight in OKC as the Thunder take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off for that one is 7:30 p.m. Tennessee's SEC tournament opener is set. They will take on Alabama in Hoover tomorrow. First pitch at 9:30 a.m. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 of Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And Blaine, the rookies just had their rookie premiere. But I figured we need to do some rookie symposium because I feel like we have a good balance of advice that we could impart to these young men that are coming into the NFL. You have experience.
This is set up?
No. You have the football experience. I have the common sense experience, the business experience. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do some do's and don'ts.
Oh.
You can do whatever you want. You give whatever advice you want. But here's my thing. Do give up social media. And what I mean by that, give up the power of your social media account because you got a brand and everybody's brand matters. But you shouldn't have the password to your social media account. You don't need to have burners, nothing. Let someone else completely manage your social media. Get off of it. Quit tweeting. Quit reading.
I am all in on this.
Do not.
I definitely
just give it up. Like I love Cam Ward's mentality. He goes like, when someone Googles me, I want it to say American football player on the Wikipedia. Great, but don't go Googling your name. Like at this point, and I'm not saying he is, but like, give up social media. So do give up the power of social media to a marketing team, to a friend that you trust, to a significant other, whoever you want to be your brand manager to take videos of you or to take pictures of you or to do sponsorships. That's fine. You need that. But you yourself stay off social media.
Yeah. So we're going to go round and round with our different ones.
You got one in?
Oh, man, there's so many. I wrote down a few of them, but naturally, don't party too much.
Yeah.
Don't challenge your coaches or the veterans. Don't isolate yourself. Don't blow all your sign-in bonus money, young guys, man.
But does some of that sign-in bonus money go to a veteran dinner in most cases?
Well, it depends on what team you're on.
Yeah.
But, it's your position group.
Yeah, I got you.
And it depends on if you're a high draft pick. I don't even know if they still do that. If you're a high draft pick, they still do.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of, late around, I don't know, because they can't be paying for people that go in debt. and one of them that was real big for me is, don't act like you've already made it. The journey has just really begun now. That was one that I got advice on when I was a young player or my rookie year. So make sure you do that. Keep all the work ethic that you've got to get to that point. Continue that. Don't skip film, meetings, do extra. Whatever we're talking about. If you're a receiver, extra catching the ball, even a DB. I mean, whatever it is, just do extra. Don't post your personal business online.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about that. Even in your locker room. Oh, you're at the hospital. I saw A.J. Brown do one, posting his picture in the hospital after he had surgery or whatever it was. Don't do any of that. That's you're trying to seek attention. Don't be that guy.
And don't put your phone on your headboard with Instagram still up. That'd be my advice.
And I would say this one is it seems kind of bland, but I think it's appropriate. Don't forget why you're there, And when I say that, I just said that earlier about staying focused. Stay focused on the task at hand and what you're trying to achieve within the framework of the team. So you have your personal goals, and sometimes you're going to come up short. So be prepared and preparing yourself that everything isn't going to be shiny and always great for you. It's how you respond to those failings that you have in the National Football League. It really will tell who you are. You get to write your own story.
Yeah.
Once you're in the league, everybody gets drafted at a certain point. You went to a certain school. It doesn't really matter. Everything's even board, and you're just as good as anybody else. And so once you get out there, you go prove it, and everything else will play itself out.
Do find a cause in your community. And listen, if it's a national cause or whatever, but do try to connect to the community. Because I think it's
we
always
talking about dues now.
Yeah, well, do's, don'ts. To me, it's just like, I think that you feel you are in a place where you can help others and you can inspire others. And I think when you're in that spot, give back to the community no matter where you may land, but give back to the community. I know, and I forgot the woman's name that does this, but there is a woman inside the Tennessee Titans that you can approach and say, hey, I would like to get involved in the community, or I'd like to find a charity that I can attach myself to. She will help you. Cortland said her name on Ramon, Kayla, and Will on Friday, and I cannot remember for the life of me the name, but do that. Because, and the reason why is because I feel it's so rewarding to give. And I think that just helps you also feel connected to a cause, but also to a community that's bigger than yourself. And I always think that's a good way to approach it.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one there. But just on the football. Oh,
yeah.
You got
I just was going to say on the football side, just real quick, do master whatever your position coach technique he's trying to instill in you. I think if you perfect it, master it, work on it day and night, you'll eventually get there. And this is for undrafted rookies too, because that's how you may get noticed, right? If your guy is trying to teach you cross chops or, certain technique and dropping your anchor, craft it, perfect it. Whatever they're teaching you, perfect it.
Well, I wrote down some do's because these are all the things that I experienced personally, so I can't say things have changed maybe a little bit on some of these, but I just said show up early, so I was that guy. I got there 6, so I was just kind of that guy, and stay late. I was a film junkie, so that kind of played and helped me out, and it helped me build a relationship with, not only the coach who was coaching me, but also with some vets. So you want to make sure you kind of build those relationships when you're around them a little bit, just one-on-one. That kind of helps out a little bit. Learn your playbook. Got to do that inside and out. And I'm talking about even if you're not getting the reps, watch while you're standing on the sideline. Naturally, be coachable. If you're not going to be coachable, then you won't be around very long. Take care of your body. This is one thing that I kind of learned when I got into the league because, we're all great athletes in college, and I never got injured at all in college. So it was just like that. Well, after one game, I was like, oh, my gosh, what is this? My body was just kind of going through something. So then that's another way to build relationships. Start talking about or watching the vets getting in the cold tub, hot tub trends, going back and forth. Hey, man, why are you doing that? So that's I start building relationships like that. So that was kind of the beginning of me trying to find out all the different ways how to take care of your body, and not only your body, but your mind too. And what else? I'll stay off social media to a certain extent. I know that's going to be really hard. But that'll be tough for this generation of guys. And
I think don't be afraid to ask why. I think we talked about in the last segment, we've talked about in the show before, but a lot of players, it feels like asking why feels like a hit to the masculinity for whatever reason. Nobody wants to ask for help. Nobody wants to ask for why. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask why.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times, players get in this position and they're afraid to ask why. Well, guess what? I was not that guy. I was asking why we was running this defense, that defense, whatever the scheme was. Like, I just wanted to understand it. Because to me, if you understand what you're doing, then it's a whole different level of mental clarity on why you're doing what you're doing, and then you're understanding where everybody else is. And I wanted all the help I could get to make sure I would be in the right place, because I was going to be an anticipatory type player, and I'm not going to be out here thinking while I'm playing, because there's no way I could play in this league if I had to do that. So yeah, that was a big one. Can't think of any other dues. Man. Make sure you take care of your finances. That's
yes.
for sure.
Oh, that's a big one. How many players have you seen, having to sell Super Bowl rings or memorabilia and all this stuff on eBay and everything because they did not manage their finances?
Does it matter if I go buy a Rams Super Bowl ring? Does that then say we won?
I mean, you may have to change that. Listen, you may have to change out a few diamonds and designs, but
I might have to change that Ram head on there.
Turn it into a T. Take the horns, turn it into a T of some sort.
Crap.
Yeah, there you go.
That was actually my living dream. I wanted to say I won a Super Bowl. Not just saying
that should be everybody's dream that's playing in the NFL, right?
Say I won one, man. That's really a unique group of people that could really say that they've done something that a lot of people haven't ever accomplished. So I came up short there. So that's why I'm so passionate about the Titans. I really want them to get back there one day, and we were a long way away from that.
Yeah.
To get back there and win one. Even if I'm not a part of it, I could say I at least was watching them.
At least, hey, listen, how many players don't even make a Super Bowl?
That's Bruce Matthews. That's how, I was watching the players like, man, he was sitting there crying when we was about to, go out. I was like, dang, man, what's going on? He was like, man, I played all this time. It's my first Super Bowl. And I was just like, dang. I said, you know what? We playing for you for this game.
Yeah.
And you play that long and then never even have a presence to play in one and then finally get one, man. And we're talking about, he said, you're 17. Like, wow, dang, that's incredible just to kind of see. And then an elite player that he was, even at that age. So that was heart-wrenching there to see that and go, dang. This ain't even about me. This is about Bruce Matthews and people who have worked so hard to get to this point for a long period of time. It was touching, that's for sure.
I got one final do before we bring on Coach Mack at 2:20, and that is for all the rookies out there. Do come on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Oh. I think that'll be up to.
Oh man, the producer.
Right.
The producer did not pick up on that. Are you paying attention back there?
Yes. Were you trying to throw it to break?
That was it. I'm saying, do come on the show, and then I turned it into going to break. That's a professional transition. I feel like
he is definitely hurting his shot at being a producer of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, producer of the year, not happening for Jackson Williams.
Guys, if something's holding you back from performing at your best, it's time to do something about it with performance-enhancing treatment packages from Edge Peptide. Whether in the gym or on the course, with Edge Peptide hormone therapy, you can show up stronger, feeling better, recover faster, and stay in the game longer. And you know what I'm talking about. So you can also boost your energy, build lean muscle mass, and heal all those nagging injuries. And as an athlete myself, I know how those injuries can affect your game. So if you're struggling with joint pain, suffering from a recent injury, or looking to recover faster after surgery, Edge has you covered. From peptide packages to PRP, stem cells, and high-film muscle stimulation, Edge is your exclusive Nashville area peptide specialist. And don't wait till summer to feel your best. And don't trust those online pharmacies for sure. And remember, at Edge, your consultation fee for $250 is waived with your initial order. And all you have to do is just go to edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. And you hear the music, that means it's 2:20 p.m. on a Tuesday, and we bring in Coach Mack of Titans Radio. And he's brought to you by Tours Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Coach Mack, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Hope you guys are doing good.
We're doing good. We're giving advice to rookie NFL players coming in. We gave some advice, stuff like stay off social media, make sure you keep an eye on your finances, perfect your craft from what the position coaches tell you. What would be your biggest piece of advice for an NFL rookie coming in this year?
Well, just first of all, being early is being on time. Develop that habit pretty quickly, and then be on point. Be on point with what you're doing. Don't take for granted just because you've gotten in the door that you're going to stay in the door, because everybody that gets a chance to come in there has got some kind of requisite talent to have brought them there, and then it's up to you to take advantage of everything that's provided to you with everything that is there to be able to perfect your craft, and that's extremely important. I mean, and try not to be a repeat offender with the middle part of it. That's a huge part of it. And then just understand that as you're coming in, learn your environment first before you start trying to make any proclamations about who you are or what you're going to be. Just be yourself. But the being on time thing is hugely important, because you got to understand that your time is not any more valuable than everybody else's. And once you come to a National Football League team, everything that you do impacts not only your financial future, it impacts the financial future of everybody that you're involved with. Understand the importance of that.
When we've been talking about the development of young players and everything, and how much falls on the shoulder of the players in the summer to improve and develop in the summer. What is the role from the coach's perspective in developing these young players? Because it's really hard to develop and get better in season at your craft. So what is the role of the coach over the summer to help these players be on the right path towards development?
Well, it starts for a coach even before that. I mean, when for the 31 years I coached in the league, I got great advice early on by some veteran coaches. Get to know your players. Get to know your players, because each one of your players is going to need individual help. They may be all working towards the same goal, but every player learns differently, and every player has got something that they can grab onto that all of a sudden the big picture makes sense to them. But it's up to you as a coach to get to know your players. Spend time getting to know your players as far as to what they need, and also it's really incumbent upon the coach. I mean, I did this for all the years that I coached, and then when I was in charge of coaches, encourage them to do this. You need to be able to stay in tune with what's going on, not only with your players, but what's going on in tune with the league, and always finding ways to involve your players in ways to get better. Ask them. I mean, I was fortunate enough to coach Hall of Fame players, and with every one of them, I would sit down before they ever left for the off season, and we would put together a plan, say, what do you, as a Pro Bowl player, what do you want to work on this year? How can I help you? Where can I go to find some answers for you? What kind of research would you like for me to do to find out what's going on in the league? I mean, you've got to be invested. If you're going to coach the National Football League, and especially if you're going to last very long doing it, you've got to invest in your players.
We're on the phone with Coach Mack, brought to you by Tours Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Well, Coach, I guess first and foremost, has it changed, or is still pretty much the same because of the same objective, and that is, how do you integrate the young players with the veteran players when you come to camp, or you just kind of let it happen naturally?
Well, it has changed in this manner. When I first got into the league, there was no free agency and there was no salary cap. So the preponderance of your team were veteran players.
Mm-hmm.
it has taken a complete 180 now. You're going to flip 35% of your players every year.
Crazy.
And just by the nature of free agency and the salary cap, your squad is going to get younger. So you're going to have a greater majority of your players being younger players. So everything that you do is going to have to be able to not only integrate the young players into the vets that you have, but you also have to be able to continue to perfect the vets because, and again, it changed all because I coached long enough that I could sense this change. You know, you're going to have to spend more time with the basics with the younger players, and you're going to have to spend more time with the advanced skills with the older players. And again, it goes back to investing. But the thing that I always wanted the younger players to understand: be respectful when you come into this league. Be respectful of what these veterans have accomplished to be where they are. Mm-hmm. That you can learn something from them. You're not going to be exactly like them, but you can learn something from them because they've all gone through this stage where you are right now.
Naturally, I love, what Coach Callahan is doing as far as the team bond, and kind of take us through some of the things you would do when you were a head coach or defensive coordinator for team bonding.
Well, first of all, you've got to let it handle. Some of that stuff has to work organically, but at the same time, and team bonding doesn't mean that you have to spend 24 hours with the guy.
Right.
You don't, because everybody else has got their life. But
right. Well, I'm talking about like some of the fun things. Everybody's calling fun thing, but you're also getting better too at the same time.
Yeah, and you're developing a camaraderie, and you're learning how to compete. I mean, you remember, Blaine, when you were. And in fact, I was at an event this weekend where I saw Steve Watterson. Oh
my, I love Watterson.
Yeah, but Watterson, you remember the thing Watterson would do with all of us in the off season? You guys would play that Powerball. Remember Powerball?
Yes.
I mean, but you would choose teams up, and it would be different teams. You would be involved with Benji Olsen, or you'd be involved with. I mean, you'd be on a team with guys that weren't necessarily in your position or even on your side of the ball. But it was a team bonding thing in that type of thing. Plus, you were competing, and that got to be the point as to where, I mean, all the times that I was there with Watterson, people were asking for that game. People were asking for it because it was competitive, but also you got to be able to work with guys that you normally, because once the season starts, you are working with your group. You're working with your group. You're working with your subset of your group. Then you're working with your defense. And so that's a very important time, at least to get acquainted with the other people, because the closer you are that you know them as people, then the closer you're going to be able to compete.
One thing I did, Coach, when I was a rookie, was I identified that I was going to be a special team player immediately, and I embraced it. How much do you think that's changed, or is the same with some of these young guys who are all starters just like everybody else coming into the league, and they embrace playing special teams and don't look at it and frown upon it?
No, they understand that that's the way in. And here's the other thing, too. It makes a big difference who your special teams coach is.
Oh.
I mean, this is the Titans right now have one of the better ones I've ever been around, and that's counting nearly 40 years of coaching in this league. Those guys want to be around him. I mean, and they want to be in that meeting, and it's so important to him that he wants them to be invited in and do it, and they absolutely. That's a huge way. And the other thing is, too, the skill of special teams has changed since you came in. When you first came in, because of your personality, you were the wedge buster. I mean, that's
shouldn't have been.
Did. You were willing to run through a wall, okay? Yeah, they don't have a wall anymore. But you still got to be willing to be able to be the best L3 or the best L4 on the punt protection team. You've got to be willing to be the best gunner that you can be. If you get a chance to go do that, that is important. But that's also incumbent upon the special teams coach has a very unique position on the staff, because he gets to work with everybody. And most of the time, he really starts to work with guys that probably aren't going to be full-time starters. But the thing that he has to be able to do is encourage guys. Everybody can contribute on special teams. It doesn't mean you have to play every big four special teams throughout every game. But it's a huge, huge part of it now. And I've seen the special teams during my years in the league. It used to be we would keep 5 or 6 guys because there was no free agency and no salary cap that were true vets that were special teams masters. And that's why they were making a living. It's different now just because of the salary cap and the free agency. But the special teams coach's personality is a huge part of it.
Yeah, one last question, Coach, and that is, when you draft a quarterback really high, I want to know if you've gone through the situation being a coach, and then you're integrating the young guy with a veteran guy, you could say that it being Levis, and that, what are you looking for from the young guy because you're going to play him to then, see the things that you need to see before he's out there in the actual game when you're watching practice? What are you looking for?
Just be yourself and work and a young player that is there's a reason he's there. There's a reason he was taken that high, but you want somebody that is willing to incorporate himself into the group, not set himself above the group, but when he gets the chance, have the requisite ability and the personality to be able to step in and gather people around him. That's what you're looking for, but you want it to happen organically, and that's what's extremely important about the nature and also the way that they handle themselves. That's extremely important because I've seen it both ways. I've seen a young guy comes in that thinks just because of where he was taken that he's all that and starts acting like that. You know how that goes over in the locker room, not only at the quarterback, but in any position. That just doesn't float. Somebody that is genuinely themselves, that by the hard work engenders the respect of the locker room. That's what you're looking for.
There you go. Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Coach, when we hear all these coaches over times talk about they have an open door policy, players can come in and, ask us anything or they can talk to us about anything. How do you actually foster that? Because there are a lot of players who don't want to ask why for fear of looking silly or stupid. But how do you foster an open door policy with your team that is actually effective and useful?
Well, by being yourself, this way I did it. The way I did it as an assistant coach, I did it as a coordinator, I did it as a head coach, and I really did it when I was an assistant head coach for a lot of years because players on both sides of the ball would come in and talk. But you've got to be genuine. You've got to be genuine, and players have got to believe that there is no other agenda for you allowing them to come in and talk or ask questions other than the fact that you want to help them. There has got to be no other agenda there. That's why you've got to be completely open. You got to be ready to completely, say, look, if you want to know why or you want this, you may not agree with everything, but come in and let's ask me, and we can reach a point as to where we can both agree that what I've decided is best for not only you, but is best for the group. And I will give you my reasons why, but always, and I want to hear your reasons why you don't think, it's working for you, or you think it's a detriment to what is going on. But they have to believe, the players have to believe that whatever your role is as a coach, whether it's an assistant coach or whether it's all the way to the head coach, whether you're being honest with them. And you can only be honest with them when you're honest with yourself.
The Titans schedule came out last week, and from the coach's perspective, what are your thoughts of the placement of the bye week and the home games surrounding it? That seems like a very good thing for your team.
Well, I like the bye week at week 10. I like that. I mean, I didn't like the bye week. The earlier bye weeks, especially with a 18-week season now, the way it is with 17 games, I think that's hard. That's hard to do. I like it. I like that where that is 10. As far as the placements of the games, the thing that I always look for after I look at where the bye week was and where my division games came, I wanted to see, if I had a free game on the road stretch, which they do, and if I had an extended home stretch, which they do. So those types of things, help you to be able to formulate your plan as far as that. Because look, players players really like a routine, but they're also very malleable to whatever happens. They just want to know. The thing that players don't like once they get into a season is they don't like any surprises. That's what they don't want. So once you get it, you lay it all out for them. Here's what we're planning on doing. Here's how we're going to travel. Here's when our off time is. All of those things you let them know early on, and then they're fine with it. So that's the things that I would look at very, very early on, because you can't control it once it comes out, but you can lay out a plan for your players so they can understand exactly the way it's going to be laid out for 18 weeks, how you're going to handle it.
That is Coach Mack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. And, of course, you can hear him on the official Titans podcast and on Titans Radio. Coach Mack, we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Guys, appreciate you guys. Talk to you.
Thank you. See you next week. All right, when we come back, we'll continue our discussion about the Tennessee Titans and what Brian Callahan had to say today. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Stinky, stinky, stinky. Is that what it was like the last time you were at an auto repair shop? Smelly, greasy old rags laying around? A countertop that you would not dare touch? Another thing that stinks is the repair shops. They keep your car forever, and they're not honest. They don't call you back when they say they will. Was that your last experience at a vehicle repair shop? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop to tell you about Eurofix, and they will take the stink out of European auto repair. And at Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit and not high-pressure sales tactics. Also at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And they're very, very popular. You never pay dealer pricing, of course, from a family-owned for 26 years. And at Eurofix, they're located in Franklin, Hunted Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine Bishop sent you.
Last call for phone calls here on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. And Brian Callahan was asked about the Tennessee Titans schedule and how much of does playing the defense that led the league in sacks week 1 worry or excite him when it comes to this Tennessee Titans offense?
You know, the focus is so small right now for us. We have so many things that we need to get better at that we focus on. The schedule sort of comes out, and it's a big deal kind of outside in the outside world. And it's not like we didn't know we were going to play these teams. It's just a matter of when you're playing them. Opening in Denver, certainly a challenge. That's a hell of an environment. Was a part of that for a long time, and they got a good football team. So it's a good test out the gate for us. That's a really good defense, very well coordinated, a lot of good talent. So yeah, it's a great challenge for us out the gate. And again, we don't get too far down the road thinking about it, but it's certainly going to be a fun opening environment.
This is going to be a different question than what I was originally going to ask after based off hearing that. Is it all just bull crap when they say, well, we don't really care about the schedule and he says, we're really focused on now, not focused on the future, or, we'll worry about that when it gets here. Like, aren't you always thinking about your opponents and how best to put your team even when, like, it just doesn't seem very genuine. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem very genuine when he says that.
I believe him.
You do?
Yeah, well, the reason why I say that is because it'll be exhaustive if I'm thinking about the Denver freaking Broncos right now today. We got a long way to go. That's the task way down the road. If I don't focus on the guy actually I'm coaching or individuals at getting better, then when we get there, we won't be ready anyway. So I think, and himself included. So I think, in the backdrop, as a coach, maybe he's starting to watch film or figuring out some things slowly but surely. But no, today you're not thinking about the schedule. You're trying to improve players who can impact your team, who's developing, who's getting better, who's unexpectedly getting better. So I do believe him in that. Maybe.
So he's just not just downplaying it. This is really the truth. I mean, that's what you think. At least. I'm
going to just say from a player's perspective, when the schedule came out, I'm looking at who the quarterback's playing, being a defensive guy. And then somewhat like Coach Mack, where would we have the bye week? But after that, I'm not thinking about the schedule.
Gotcha.
No, there's no way. I'd go insane thinking about the schedule. It's like 6 months away, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do believe that. You departmentalize. That's what happens for a player, and you focus on everything you can with the backdrop in your mind. Oh, I can't wait till we play Shannon Sharp, because at the time he was with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
See, so how that matchup's going to go. Oh, I know how he runs his routes in my mind. Oh, I may start studying how he runs his routes. Oh, I may want to get some tea leaf tips on, their offense. But I'm not watching a slew of film or talking about the Denver Broncos.
It is interesting, and I know we're about to talk about the Denver Broncos after just saying we shouldn't be focused on the Denver Broncos. But it is interesting because we mentioned it last week. They got Lloyd Cushenberry from Denver. I forgot they got Cody Barton on the other side, also from that Denver team. So from that defensive side, they got a guy that's familiar with the offensive side, the defensive side. Is that a big deal at all? Is that an overplayed narrative?
Well, that's what I was trying to mention to you the other day about Cody Barton was with the Broncos. I don't know if you ever really listened to me.
I do.
But,
did you mention that? Did we forget that? Maybe I just forgot.
But maybe that's where it came up with this question. But, I think it matters in that you want to get a little insight on individual players. That's it. Like, maybe you can get scheme assistance, but you never know what they're going to do against your team, especially if it's a team that you don't play twice a year. So I feel like it doesn't help at all. But some people will.
I just wondered, because I guess the coaches would probably come ask you some things, but there's you got to be, if you're a coach, shouldn't you be trusting your own eyes?
Well, when I left the Titans and went to the Eagles, we played them first game here in Tennessee. And the first thing they asked me was everything about the offense. I said, I don't know. I've never played them.
So the stuff that happens in practice you guys
that ain't playing like in no game.
Yeah,
like what they would run against us is totally different than we were in a blitz scheme, just like they kind of run now.
Yeah,
but even more so blitzing. The Eagles at the time ran Jimmy Johnson's cover 2 scheme, blitz scheme that was nothing like what we ran. I mean, absolutely the total opposite. I could give you tips on individual players. But other than that, I really couldn't help them. Besides I said, well, what'd you see in film? Because Eddie George was from Philly.
Yeah.
So they, Philly, New Jersey area, and they were like, hey, man, what was it like? I said, well, I never played him. I don't know. I kind of busted his chops a couple times in practice, but that was very far between. That never happened again after his rookie year. I mean, we're not trying to hurt our players.
Yeah.
I said, he's going to run hard, though. You just better know that he's going to bring it. And that's pretty much all I could help him with. I mean, really, you're watching film just like I am. I haven't played them. No, I didn't. I didn't believe, but people do, players do. Mm-hmm. They call around to different players and ask them little tips here and there. There's no doubt about that goes on.
Do you give up tips on players when people ask? Not on your own teammates, not dropping a dime on your own teammates, but if like a player were to call you, a safety from back in the day and said, hey, we're playing against Marvin Harrison and Dallas Clark. Can you give me some tips? Would you give them some tips?
I wouldn't give them tips on defensive players. I would give them tips maybe on offensive guys.
That's what I'm saying. If a safety called you and asked for Dallas Clark and Marvin Harrison.
Oh, yeah, I would give them tips. Hey, when they line up like this, hey, that's what they did against us. I don't know if that's what they'll do against you. Yeah. I would quantify, and explain it to them. But, this is what we discovered, or at least I discovered. It would probably be a short conversation. But, I would give them tips. Yeah, if they ask me, absolutely. Because I had my own tip booklet on every player and offensive schemes and what they did and didn't do. I would give it to them.
Do you still have that book?
No.
You sure? Because I was going to have you bring it in. I was going to add. We're going to do this little skit.
I don't have my tips or my former playbooks.
None of them?
None of them. I trashed them all when I finished playing because I was done. What service is going to do to me?
What could have been a good radio skit?
It would have been. Who would have known?
Because I was going to be like, let's just open up a book and see what you have.
Dang, that would have been pretty awesome. Dang it. And I know guys who still have their books too. And I'm like, why do you still have that? I don't know, man. And then the one guy,
I would have been like you, by the way. I would have just got rid of it. Yeah. I'm not the guy. I don't like hoarding.
Well, it happened in a move. So that's what really happened. When I moved, it was like, I don't need that. I had a, little container for it off too, by the way.
J.C. Latham lost some weight. We've talked about that. Brian Callahan talked about that as well, saying that he really played a little bit heavier than probably what he should have last year. Really good commitment on there. So I just wanted to bring that up just real quick because we've talked about it.
You did. Yeah, he was in the video. You saw him. He looked. Yeah. He looked. And and I'm a big fan of him, and not because he's a first round pick. More so how he speaks. When he speaks, I feel leader all day long, and unfortunately, at the end there, he didn't play as well as he did early on, which a lot of rookies do, and he did something about that. And see, that's what I'm talking about. That's a guy you can lean into right now. Guess what? We ain't hear nothing from him, have we?
No, I guess not. Have we?
I guess the coaches don't see what I see.
Maybe not. We don't know. We know Cody Barton, Dan Moore, and Van Jefferson.
It was all new players.
All new players. Yeah. But then Tony Pollard, which was a random throw-in there.
Yeah.
I like what he said about Tony Pollard trying to split the snaps and, trying to get that back. We heard about the vaunted quote-unquote quarterback competition, just to wrap things up about that. Basically, they said they're splitting reps right now, but that will change once 7-on-7s and stuff like that comes up because they're not going up against defenses right now. So they're just kind of quote-unquote splitting reps.
They're scared.
You think they're scared?
Nah, that's what I would be saying if I was still playing.
Would you be saying that? I see you guys don't want to do 7-on-7s against this defense.
Like, man, I see what y'all running over there, man. Y'all scared, man? Come on, man. What we holding back for? Why can't we just practice now, man?
Yeah, let's just do it now.
Going into the locker room.
Do you think there are players doing it? Maybe jabbing them a little bit?
Oh, maybe. Never know.
I will say this. Going back to J.C. Latham, I remember one of the things that impressed me about J.C. Latham was last year when the big story was out in the rain, he's out there working on stuff and all that. That's when I knew you had a special player because that's a guy that's really trying to own in on his craft. And so I cannot wait to see how this weight that has come off of him. Maybe not just physically, but maybe metaphorically, now that he's a right tackle or that he's in a place that's a little bit more comfortable where he's got year 2, but that weight of that year 1 pressure is a little bit off of him as well. But I cannot wait to see how he responds. He's probably the player that I'm most looking forward to seeing their year 2.
Yeah, me too.
There we go.
I think he's going to be a pretty good player.
I do too. I'm with you. This is good.
Do you think he's going to outplay Moore?
Oh, yeah.
I do too.
There's no hesitation for me on that.
I don't want to be saying we should switch him back to left.
Yeah.
He's better
Gosh,
than
if
Moore.
we're doing that, things have really gone bad. All right, that'll do it for us. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. 3HL's up next, and in the meantime,
And in between time.
peace.